All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, just a couple of the normal reminders. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those by clicking either that Q&A section or the chat section in the lower portion of your control panel. Feel free to chat between yourselves as well throughout. We will be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you would like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, or if you think of any others, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, what is on the agenda for today? Brain health overall, right? So we're going to talk a bit about why we want to keep our brain in good shape. And then we'll get into some tips that you can incorporate into your daily life to help keep your brain as healthy as possible for as long as possible. So I think most of us would agree that it's important to keep our brain healthy, right? As we get older, keeping our cognitive skills sharp as much as possible is extremely important when it comes to continuing to have a high quality of life overall. So now, it's normal for our brains to not work as well as we age, right? It's just like our bodies. Our brains do tend to have things that pop up. It does start to happen no matter what. Cognitive decline refers to changes in the ability to think that happens as people age. So some changes are a normal part of getting older, absolutely, but you can take steps to slow that decline, which is what we're mainly going to focus on today. Now, more significant decline or severe changes are not a normal part of aging, and those might be signs of dementia, which we're going to touch on here in a minute. But there is a stage after that quote unquote normal expected decline in memory and small things, and between that more serious stage of dementia that's called mild cognitive impairment. So it also stands for MCI. You might have heard of that. So this is where like you or your family might notice more concerns with your memory or mental function, but the changes aren't affecting your daily life at this point. They're not impacting your activities that you're doing. So MCI may increase to that next risk of dementia, more of those types of things. But some people with MCI never get worse, and some eventually get better. So it's really important to talk to your doctor if you start to see either in yourself or a family member of different things that are happening, but just to see what options you have, okay? So then that next stage that we're looking to hopefully prevent or delay is dementia. So dementia is a general term used to describe problems with thinking and memory that are severe enough to interfere with a person's daily life, okay? Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, and I think that's the one we hear of and we think of the most, right? But there's actually several kinds of dementia, some of which are listed here. It can be divided into three groups. So we've got primary, which are diseases and conditions in which dementia is the main illness. There might be some other things going on, but dementia is the main thing. We have secondary, where dementia is actually caused by another disease or condition. And then we have reversible, which is basically just, it's not actual dementia, it's dementia-like symptoms coming from other illnesses or causes. So I'm not going to go through all of these. We're not going to dive into this, but I just thought it was interesting because I think many of us don't really realize that dementia can come in many different forms. And all forms affect the same areas of the brain. We have our language, we have our memory, we have our decision making, right? And you can have more than one form of dementia, which can make it hard to diagnose in some cases too. So again, important to work with your doctor if you have any concerns at this point. Now, an important note to remember is that currently there is no proven prevention of dementia. Many of the risk factors are non-modifiable. So age, genetics, family history, those types of things. But there's been encouraging research that points to some of the things that we're going to talk about today that may help lower some of those modifiable risk factors that have been associated with these diseases, like blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, weight, those types of things. So At the end of the day, it's going to be a win-win for you because living healthy overall ideally can hopefully help slow that cognitive decline and possibly lower your risk of, or at the very least, delay the onset of dementia. And also, the things that we're going to talk about today can help prevent a whole bunch of other health concerns that pop up as we go, right? So it's worth trying some of them. All right, so let's get to what we can do today to help our brains in the future. Let's start with the basics, right? Exercise. Exercising regularly has a ton of benefits directly for the brain. It increases blood vessels that bring oxygen-rich blood to the brain. It promotes the development of new nerve cells and increases the connection between brain cells themselves. So this makes the brains more efficient, more adaptive. Exercise indirectly helps the brain by lowering things like blood pressure, improving cholesterol, improving blood sugar, reducing stress, all of which affect our brain health overall. As they say, exercise is the best medicine. It's definitely one of the best in the case for our brains, okay? So the goal is to shoot for 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. If you're not there, don't worry about it. Again, work up to as much as you can. But moderate exercise just meaning getting that heart rate up above the norm. So doing something different, something that's going to make you sweat a little bit. So that's the goal for that exercise. Nutrition. What you eat absolutely affects how your brain works. So not only with nutrients and specific foods that benefit your brain directly, but just like exercise, the benefits of healthy foods with things like cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure are going to help your brain indirectly in the long run as well, right? So as far as what to eat, there is research that points to what is called the MIND diet. This stands for Mediterranean Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. And I'm not going to say that again, okay? That's a lot. But basically what that is it combines two different diets that some of you may be familiar with, the Mediterranean diet, which I think is fairly well known, and then the DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension, which was created to help people who struggle with high blood pressure. So those two diets both include a lot of fruits, veggies, whole grains, healthy fats, and they avoid more processed foods and sugars, things like that. So researchers think that the diet works by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. So oxidative stress is when molecules called free radicals accumulate and cause damage to the cells in our body. The brain is especially vulnerable to this type of damage. And inflammation in our body is good when it's in response to an injury or infection, but the more processed foods and things like sugar cause too much inflammation in our bodies, which can lead to disease. So I've made a list here to keep it as simple as possible. Here are the main foods that this type of diet recommends. Vegetables, specifically like your green leafy veggies like kale, spinach, cooked greens, things like that, but also a variety of other veggies along with those. This diet suggests 6 servings of your green leafy veggies and then a serving of another type of veggie once per day, with the key being variety, right? Try a bunch of different things. Berries are suggested twice per week. So things like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, those types of berries have antioxidants that fight illness in our bodies and our brains. Nuts. 5 servings are recommended per week on the MIND diet. So we've got, good healthy fats and proteins. That's kind of where the benefits come with nuts. There's no specific nut that they suggest in the MIND diet, but almonds and walnuts are always kind of up there at the top. They're considered, as far as nutrient density, they're considered one of the top that you can get. But again, any nuts, but what you want to make sure is watching the extra oils and things that sometimes gets added to the package. So just make sure that there's no extra stuff added to whatever nuts you're purchasing. Olive oil. They suggest using this type of oil when you can, as it has some great healthy fats in it. As far as serving sizes, it's going to depend. I didn't put those in there. Do some research. Usually, you know, half a cup, depending on what it is, as far as the leafy greens and berries and stuff like that. But, you know, and a little less, I think, for the nuts. But take a look, do some research, shoot us an email if you want us to help you out with that. Whole grains are suggested for 3 servings a day on the Mind diet. So things like 100% whole grain bread and pasta, oatmeal, quinoa, those are just a couple of the options for whole grains out there. But looking to get whole grains, get that good fiber, all that good stuff. Fish, which makes sense with the Mediterranean diet, right? The Mind diet suggests eating fish just once per week. So the goal would be to shoot for those that are the highest in those omega-3 fatty acids, which are great for brain health. So salmon, sardines, tuna, mackerel are some of the highest you can get. Again, some other types of fish are going to have those in it, but maybe not as much. So that's why these are just given as examples. But fish is a good option. Baked and fried, or baked versus fried fish, if you can, please, or grilled. So we want to stay away from the fried if we can, because that kind of negates some of those benefits with some of those other oils. Beans, 4 servings per week is a suggested amount for beans. So beans are going to have protein, antioxidants, folate, lots of good stuff for the brain. And really any kind of beans are going to do. Again, just watch for additional ingredients added if you're buying more packaged ones. And then poultry. This diet suggests eating chicken or turkey at least once per week. Again, not fried, please. Baked or grilled is the best route to go. There are people asking questions about different types of oils and things like that. So for this diet, these are just examples of this specific diet. There's other healthy things out there, but research has shown that these types of foods, these aren't the only foods you can eat, right? But research points to the fact that following this type of diet, even to a moderate degree, is associated with better brain health outcomes and reduced risk of Alzheimer's and cognitive impairment. Okay, again, these aren't the only healthy foods that you can eat. So don't think that this is the only thing. These are suggestions for this specific diet that they did some research on for brain health specifically. Okay, so I think when you look at these foods, really what's encouraged is similar to what people are going to tell you, right? Healthy eating style, whole grains, whole foods, healthy proteins. It's not rocket science, right? Eat natural as much as you can. Try to get in the healthy, less processed foods, and you're going to be better. And again, it's not to say that you can't eat more of these servings. This is just the minimum that they would suggest. If I could add in more, you know, the berries was an example. It's a great option. You can have more. It's just that this is what they suggest as far as the minimum. Okay, so and make sure it's balanced with your proteins and all that stuff. So, all right. Let's see here. Let's talk alcohol. All right, excessive alcohol use is linked to increased brain issues, right? Moderate consumption at this point isn't linked, but just be really mindful to stay within that 1 to 2 drinks that's recommended, and it really depends on each individual how it affects us. And if you don't drink now, the research is actually tending to shy away lately from the possible benefits outweighing the negatives of drinking things like wine. So don't kill the messenger here, but just be aware of that I'm seeing more research out there that's kind of like, well, if you don't drink, don't start, because some of those benefits, they could be there, but maybe not as much. All right. So again, don't kill me. I'm just passing along the message. All right, moving on. Smoking is a big risk factor for dementia. Current smokers are 30% more likely to develop dementia. But the great thing is that your risk starts to go down as soon as you quit. So do it as soon as you can. All right, moving on to some other ways to help our brain sleep. The brain plasticity theory suggests that when we sleep, our brain takes that time to grow, reorganize, restructure, make new neural connections, all those things that are way smarter than I am. But those are what help people learn new information and form memories. So it makes sense that sleep is important for our brain health then, right? So most adults want to shoot for 7 to 9 hours for maximum benefit. Again, it's going to depend on each individual person, but that's the general recommendation is 7 to 9 hours. So a couple quick tips to help with sleep. First, if possible, stick to a schedule. If you go to bed and get up at the same time, your body is able to create its wake-sleep cycle, and then your hormones and all your body's processes are better regulated. If you can't get to bed at the same time, then create a similar routine that you can do before bed to help calm down your mind and body, things like that. So taking a bath, reading, meditation, anything that you can do that's calming to you to start that winding down process. Sleep environment is important as well. Things like temperature between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit is suggested for sleeping. Cold for me, but that's what they suggest. Noise machines or fans can help dampen outside noises if that's an issue for you. Light, pitch black is the best way to sleep, but as little light as possible is the goal. So blackout curtains, eye mask can help, especially if you sleep during the day, depending on what your schedule is. Also, try to stop using technology as far ahead of bedtime as possible, as these lights can mess with our body's production of melatonin, which is a hormone that helps us sleep. And if you haven't gotten a new mattress or pillows in a while, it might be time for an upgrade. So just something to think about there. Weighted blankets, someone just put in the chat. Yeah, all of those things that make you feel more secure. Try different things, see if it can help with your sleep, because sleep is a tough one. And again, we're not spending much time because that isn't the point of the webinar today, but we have there's lots of good information out there. So shoot us an email if you want us to send you some more information on sleep. And then managing stress is also a key tool in helping keep the brain healthy. We know that stress increases our blood pressure, which is a risk factor for dementia, right? Stress also triggers your body to release a hormone called cortisol, which has been linked to problems with memory. Stress is also related to depression and anxiety, which are also some suggested factors that can increase the risk of dementia. And then finally, stress affects our immune system, which has also been linked to dementia. So stress itself is a really complicated thing, right? But just know that helping your stress is going to help that brain health. If we can work on ways to manage the stress that we have, we can't get rid of all of our stress, right? But it can hopefully help our brain out too. So a few really quick tips to help with stress. Again, we're not going to be able to spend too much time, but we do have lots of other resources. So shoot us an email if you want more of that. But breathing is going to help with the in the moment stress that pops up, right? There's a few breathing techniques out there. One that I typically recommend to people is called box breathing or 4-square breathing. You just inhale for a slow count of 4, hold that breath for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold the exhale for a count of 4. So if you can take that time, do it once, do it a couple times, do it for however long you're able to or can. What this does is it forces your body to slow down, focuses your mind on counting rather than the stressor. For longer term stress management tips, one big thing for brain health specifically is be sure you have social connections. Having strong social ties has been associated with lower risk of dementia. So that's a pretty cool thing, right? If you don't have a big social circle at the moment, volunteering is a social connection that I think people tend to forget about. So again, if you've got close people, great. If not, try volunteering. That will still get you connected to people outside. Practicing positivity is another great way to work on stress management that has a direct impact on our brain health. So looking for the positives in your situation, even if you have a stressful situation, right? This isn't always easy, but if you start to look for the good in a situation, your brain will start to learn to focus on those things rather than the negatives, which helps your stress response. And then, of course, helps that brain, right? Journaling is a great option for practicing positivity as well. You can do gratitude journaling, focusing on the positives of your day. jotting those down to remember that good stuff. So some of you are putting some other options in here, which is fantastic, because what I want you to do for the stress management side is create a stress toolbox for yourself. So all I mean by this is just to think about your favorite activities, your stress reducing activities, your calming activities, and then incorporate them into your life. Think of the different things that you can do and get those into your regular activity. So again, regular exercise, line dancing, meditation I see on there too, ballroom dancing, again, any type of exercise, walking your dog, 100%. Again, I said meditation, having a playlist of your favorite music ready, crafting, I love that option too. Yard work, anything that you feel like gets that stress to calm down, that helps that stress response, that's going to be something positive for you. If you get into the habit of doing things that make you happy and calm, your body will be better able to deal with stress that comes along. We can't avoid stress, right? But we know how much damage it can do to our body and our brains now, right? So we can help change our response to that stress that comes up if we have some of these things in our toolbox to help. Again, with the in-the-moment stress and the longer term, practice everything. All right, last but not least, some of you just said do a puzzle. Let's talk about doing some mental workouts. So research is still kind of ongoing, but what it's showing is that it's really about challenging your brain with mentally stimulating activities, right? So things like puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, crosswords, Sudokus, word finds. I do the daily Wordles. Anyone do that? And then the connections, all those New York Times things. Yes, Wordle and Quordle. I can't get on board with the Quordle, but good for you that they can do that. My brain's not that big. But yes, those types of things that get your brain thinking in different ways are super helpful with, again, it's going to be something that's going to keep your brain working. And that's what it is. It's like a muscle, right? If we're not working our brain, it can sometimes lose its value, right? Not value. Our brain's always working, but if you don't work your muscles, they get smaller, right? If you don't work your brain, we might struggle with stuff as we get older. So, reading is a great way to stimulate your brain too. Reading about new things specifically. Playing board games or new sports, which can get you into that exercise side too. Learning new things in general, no matter what it is a fantastic way to keep your brain challenged. Couple options that are specifically beneficial, and I think some of you might have mentioned this in the chat already. So like learning something new, a new language, a new musical instrument, painting, drawing, crocheting, crafting, someone said too. Things like that tap into your artistic side, use more of your brain. And again, that's going to help challenge it, right? So you don't have to be good at these things to get the benefits either, I promise. I am definitely on board with just doing things to have fun with it. Don't worry about the outcome. Just go have fun. Paint something, even if it's terrible. Just go do it because it's going to help your brain. It's going to help lots of things. All right. All right. Let's see. Last thing to touch on here, kind of one that I hope makes sense overall, is just protecting your head, right? Head injuries are obviously not good for our brain health. I think we can all agree on that. So there's a reason that there's lots of research ongoing about the long-lasting side effects of small things, those concussions that don't seem major, minor ones, but that can affect us long term, right? So don't forget to wear your helmet when biking, horseback riding, skateboarding, all of those activities that you're going to learn now, right? Because you're going to try a whole bunch of new different things. But always wear your seatbelt in the car. Be mindful of times where it's easy to slip and fall. Again, we're not going to be able to prevent everything, but just be mindful and protect, especially when you're doing something that like roller skating or something like that. Just be smart about that type of stuff, and you can help, hopefully, if something does happen, you can prevent any major issues in the future. All right, wrapping it up here. Our brains are pretty important, right? Some factors we will never be able to control when it comes to developing concerns and issues as we get older. But there's so much that is in our control that we can work on now to hopefully help prevent, or again, at the very least, delay some of these things from happening. Because, it's all about we can't see what we're preventing. And that's the hard thing about healthy habits, is that you can't know what you're not going to have to deal with by being healthy. You have to trust that being healthy now is going to benefit you. We don't want to wait till we start to see some of those negative things happen. We want to be proactive. We want to get ahead of the game when it comes to being healthy, right? So do what you can, one step at a time. Your brain will thank you, I promise. All right, before I jump to any questions, a couple next webinars coming up. Eating well, even on the go, that's a tough one, right? So we're going to talk about some different tips and things as far as eating on the go. And then July, we're going to talk about functional fitness. So, doing those things, they're going to help our daily activities. And similar to brain health, we can keep our physical health up, our quality of life is going to stay good for a really long time. So we're going to talk about that type of stuff. If you do have lifestyle rewards that you can get for this webinar, some of you may have to answer questions. So these will be the 3 questions that you will submit. Most of you do not have to answer questions, but if you do, take a quick screenshot. Otherwise, these will be on the slide deck that you can download on the blog post. So I'll leave it up for just another second here. And then here's our contact information. So again, if you have questions that pop up, or if I didn't see them as they were going through with the chat, please shoot us an email. We have that as the contact information down below. You can give us a call and chat with the coach about things. We are on social media, so you can follow us on there. And then, of course, we have the blog where you can watch past webinars, register for upcoming, to see what else we've got going on. All right. Let's stop the recording here.